So now this is part 4, and it is September 22nd, 2009. And one thing I thought might be interesting to comment on, the difference in the Roman Catholic religion today than it was 50 years ago, because it was quite, him being best man, remember how it created a kind of a problem, whereas today I don't think we have that kind
First of all, you remember I had to go and sign a document. Mother wouldn't go.
I think it might be interesting for the kids to know what a change things have made.
I don't know what, really, still don't understand. Do you understand what happened there exactly when I had to go?
I don't even remember that you did that.
Yeah.
And he
Nobody else would do it.
He wasn't allowed to go up on the other side of the altar, remember? Because he was Protestant.
Yeah, I couldn't. Of course, we couldn't take communion or anything. But
and then when Jack and Sherry were married in the Roman Catholic Church,
it was different.
It was completely different. How things have progressed in the years.
But that's a good question, and in my opinion, all these rules and regulations are just.
Well, it's like a country club.
Yeah.
And now people are getting more back to basics, I think, in their religion than they did in 50 years ago. But I think they had to do that in those days. It's just one of the things
well, there are still a lot of Roman Catholics today that think that they're right and that they got the only real religion.
And other Protestants and
that's right. Yeah.
Other.
The church is so changed now that it's not even the same thing. I think it's silly, all these kind of rules and things.
We've been taking a course at church that's going back to the various changes like Martin Luther and Henry VIII, and it's the people that have to have these rules and regulations. Then it creates havoc for everybody. Well, in England, I don't want to get started on that now. This is your story.
No, if you gave me the job of organizing a church, it wouldn't have any kind of pomp and circumstance or anything. I mean, it would be down to earth.
But some people like the pomp and circumstance.
And I like some of it too. It's good to have some.
He does. He's getting to the point now where he really likes it. Okay, now. We're getting back to, you've been married over 50 years, and so it's going on, it was just 53, wasn't it? 56 and 209.
Well, that's the same year us. We're coming up on
53.
Yeah, because we're coming up on 54. So how would you describe your marriage today?
Oh, it's very good. We don't have any arguments or hassles. There's always your usual things. Just before I came here, I said to Betty, we were both kind of tired the last couple of days and out of sorts, and we've been moaning and groaning and bitching. And
just got back from your vacation.
I just said that we both ought to kind of knock that off, and let's try to not be negative. And then she told me that I'm the one that does it. And so, but that's stuff, that's the way marriage is.
That's right.
And maybe I am the one that does it all the time, I don't know.
Well, if so, you're perfectly agreeable to it. All right, next section is children. So, becoming a parent. Did you and your spouse discuss whether or not you wanted to have a family, and if so, what issues came up during that discussion?
No, we didn't discuss it because the church that we belonged to in those days, which we still belong to, but the Roman Catholic Church didn't allow for any birth control, so we just figured we would see what happened, and what happened was 6 kids. But it wouldn't turn in the oven back, and it was good having a big family.
How soon after you were married did the first baby come?
Dave was born 10 months, 11 months, July. It was well, I don't know, he was born.
July
Yeah,
1957.
57, yeah.
And he was your first.
So we didn't have very much time to be parents, I mean, to be without kids.
Yeah.
Yeah, about 10 months, and we moved shortly before he was born to a place in Oakland, a bigger place, a couple of bedrooms.
Isn't that across from where we lived on
Yeah.
Elbert? Yeah.
Yeah, we lived on Everett, yeah,
Yeah, and we were on Elbert.
yeah,
So how many children did you have in all?
6,
Did all your children survive infancy?
yes.
If they survive okay, they reach adulthood. Adoption. All right, here's going to be a test for you. What is the full name and date of birth of each of your children?
Dave was born on July 28th, 1957. Janet was born on March the 24th, 59. Yvonne would be born in April 26th, 1961. Becky was born in November 14th, 1963. Wait a minute, 61. No, she was born in 62 because that was at the end of that year. There's almost 2 years, but yeah, 62. And Robert, and June 7th, 1964. And Cindy born in March of 1966. Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
Pretty
I
darn
can't-
good.
No, I
Yeah.
missed one thing was Cindy's actual birth date, and it's slipped my mind right now. The date, I know she was born in March.
Well, we can always insert it later. Okay, and where do they live?
Dave lives in Georgetown, and Janet lives in, what's the name of that town? Near Sacramento. It's
Auburn?
no,
It's outside of Auburn?
I'll think of it in a minute.
Okay.
Yvonne lives in San Ramon. Next would be Becky lives in Tracy. Cindy, well, Robert lives in Hayward, and Cindy lives in Tracy. It's, what the name of that town Janet's in is called Elk something? No.
Hmm.
I don't know.
It's near Auburn though, right?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
between Sacramento and Auburn. It's a town of itself.
Can you tell what each one of them, a job, what kind of a job they have?
Dave did various things, ended up as a truck driver, and he had a good job. Janet was very accomplished at sewing and did a lot of work there, but the last job she had was supervising a bunch of people sewing some scuba equipment. I'm not sure what the name of it was. Yvonne is pharmacy technician. And she works right now at Highland Hospital. And we got Becky, she also worked for Alameda County in the hospital system. And Becky and Robert, always a lot of different jobs, mostly tries to work in construction. And Cindy works for Alameda County also in the Fremont Library and the cataloging department.
How often do you see your children?
Oh, real often, at least once a week.
What have you enjoyed about being a parent, and what did you find most challenging?
When the first one's born, it's just a lot of, wow, now what do I do? Nobody gives you a real instruction on how to be a parent. You just do the best you can, and it's just play it by ear, and you try to do the best you can. Our kids have not always done the things that we would have them do or that we would want them to do, but I have, I might have some regrets about doing things different, but I did the best I could, and Betty did the best she could, the absolute best. I don't have any problems with, I should have done this, there comes a time when something has to be done, and there's so many struggles in raising kids that you just do the best you can, and that's really all you can do.
So if you had it to do over again, would you change anything about the way you parented your children?
I wouldn't know what to change. Now, the kids might say, you should do this or shouldn't do that, but I wouldn't know what, I suppose I would have had to do all over again. There'd be something that I don't know what it would be right now.
What was the most difficult problem ever brought to you by one of your children, and how did you handle it?
Well, kids when they're teenagers and they want their independence, and that they're not old enough to have their independence. They're intelligent. They can make some good decisions, but they're going to make some bad ones too. And there are times when you just have to let them go out and give them a time limit to come home, and hope that they're not drunk or or wrecking a car, or it's really tough. That's, I think, and it's not just one time, but it's an ongoing thing.
How did you discipline your children?
When they were young, I think like everybody gives them a little swat here and there, but I never thought that corporal punishment was a real way, like go out to the woodshed and get your butt beaten. I always tried to, and Betty too, to try to find some form of punishment that that would fit the bill. And sometimes just putting them in the room for a little while would do it, and sometimes it wouldn't. So I don't know, you just figure out what's right for each kid.
What story do you like to tell about each of your children that best illustrates what they were like when they were small?
Let's see. Dave was always responsible. He and Janet had to do a lot of the work around the house, so he was dependable on, say, look, you've got to do this and that and the other thing, and he'd do it, and he was hardworking. I think that, and he was so good at sports that monopolized his childhood, and it gave him a self-esteem. Janet was really good at doing things. She would help out plenty. she would help out with the younger kids and everything. She just was, and I don't know what, if we didn't have her, or, I don't know. It would have been harder to raise the others, but, although Dave did a lot too, I know that she really took care of the other kids. Yvonne, liked to get out of work, and she'll admit that today. She remembers jumping on her bike and to ride off when it was her turn to do the dishes. And the bike tripped or somehow fell over. She knocked her
Oh.
baby teeth out. But Yvonne was always a good kid. They were all good kids. We never really had that much trouble. Becky was a harder kid to raise because she has an independent streak that, and a determination that can't be broken. I used to, well, when she was going through this stage, I resented her, her belligerence and her defying my authority was really what, here I'm the boss and this kid is not a bandy. And she'd go in her room and play these records real loud. I don't know. We were, must have been in the better part of a year, we fought back and forth. Betty one day said, you know what, why don't you just let her go in her room and play that music as loud as she wants, do whatever.